And welcome back to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We're going to talk about the first day of school, wrap up Little League, a little bit of Hurricane Ida, and some other things we saw over the weekend. Maybe we'll get back into our discussion from earlier today. But before all of those things, Mark, the most important question of every day is, how are you feeling?
Listen, it is the first day of school, at least for my kids.
Okay.
And it is every parent knows this is a joyous, joyous day. As much as you hated the first day of school as a kid, I assume for girls it's different. Most boys hated school, right? Hate's a strong word.
I've never thought about it in terms of gender. I've never thought about the difference between a girl's first day and a boy's first day. I guess there is this idea of like getting ready to go somewhere where maybe a girl looks forward to it more than a boy does. Like getting dressed up and getting.
I think girls are just so much more social. I don't picture when you picture a teenager that sits in his or her basement and plays video games all day.
Okay.
90% of those are boys.
Yes.
Girls don't. Girls might lock themselves in their room for hours on end, which my teenagers did. But they're on their social media. They're on. It's just. I think women are just more social than men in general. So when girls go back to school, they're not as like put out because this is cutting into, especially teenage boys, it's cutting into their sleep time and their video game time.
I think your take is not incorrect. I also think you come from a world where boys have been seeing each other at football practices for 3 weeks already before the first day of school.
Well, I will say that. And I know the boys who are excited to go back to school are the football players and the soccer players who are sick of practicing twice a day.
Yes.
And they're like, thank God now I'll sit through school and only have to go once.
Yeah.
So that does take place.
I looked forward to the start of school. By the time summer was winding down, like I was, and don't get me wrong, like it's the morning of, like no one wants to wake up, no one wants to actually go. But I remember like once I was there, I was genuinely excited to be like back and like seeing everybody.
So you could see all your girlfriends.
It was so different though. Like you didn't have a cell phone. Like you didn't have, like there were people you didn't talk to.
You didn't see all summer.
Like you didn't talk to for 3 months. You just didn't see them.
No, that is extremely different.
Yes.
The friends, and not necessarily friends, but the acquaintances, kind of your school friends.
Yeah.
That you didn't hang out with, but you were in the same classes or whatever. And you would go the whole month and never, or the whole summer and never run into
No. Well, you would see, especially like when you were 12, 13, 14, you would go 3 months without seeing someone and then you would see them again and it was like a different person.
Yes.
It was like almost shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is. So I'm happy. I'm thrilled. My kids, I don't know if my son's thrilled, but they are back. And it is a joyous. I remember when I was young and someone told me that fall was their favorite time of the year because just the weather and the leaves and like the nature and football season and just, and there's a thing about fall because it leads up to the holidays and everybody likes Thanksgiving and then you get into the but I remember when I first heard it, I was still in school. I was like, how can the fall be your favorite time of the year? The fall's when we go back to school and it sucks. But now as a parent, I love when they go back to school.
I am a like late September to New Year's Day. That 3-month chunk of time, there's no competing with it. None. You start off with you get into like the hoodies, but khaki shorts weather. Football starts up. You're getting into Thanksgiving. Now it's into Christmas. Basketball season started. Those 3.5 months for me are like the prime part of the year.
This is going to sound corny, but when you just mentioned hoodie, when you get on the other side of winter, the first day that you can go outside in just a t-shirt is a glorious day.
Yeah.
When it's in the fall and the first day that you have to throw on a hoodie, it's so like soft and it's not a sad day.
No,
it is not. You're like,
I'm looking for, I brought mine today just because I'm like kind of itching to wear it. I just got a new one and I kind of like, I want to wear it. So I was hoping maybe the AC was a little too cold, but
it is, you would think that coming, it's starting to get cold. No, it is. That is a happy, happy time. The first time you throw on a hoodie.
So the worst part of the year that me personally, the worst part, which this is ironic, is like that January, February, March. I can't stand it.
Really?
I can't.
Because you're a basketball. I say that because you're a basketball
guy. Yes, but I've always joked before, like, I think I would be like clinically weatherly depressed if it wasn't for basketball those 3 months. Like, it's all like, it was almost like a greater power was like, oh, if this person doesn't have basketball these 3 months, then I don't know if he's going to make it. And like,
right. No, I get it.
Together.
Because I know that's a real thing, seasonal depression, and I know people that have it, and it's no joke.
Yes.
No, I like the changes of season. I was just talking to people about this. If it was the same all year round, and I know even in the hot places or the cold places, it does change. But I really enjoy the short days of winter to get home at like whatever time, and if you don't have a whole lot going on that night and it's just dark and you kind of hunker down, there's a laziness of winter that I appreciate, because summer, they talk about the lazy days of summer, but the days are so long and you're so tired.
Yeah.
So I don't mind this getting in January and February. I like January and February because you've got this like rebirth and there's renewal and there's.
I guess January, February, March for me, like things are like a gym's more crowded because everyone wants to like get back into like their, you know, what is it? Not their tradition.
The New Year's resolution.
Their resolution. So like things are more crowded. People are on like their new kick. But then too, like there's no,
which lasts for 10 days.
10 days. There's no real like, there's no actual like, there isn't a Thanksgiving. There isn't a Christmas.
No. Valentine's Day
is the worst.
Yes.
It's the worst.
Yes.
So I just, that stretch. And then also too, like lately, more often, it's the worst weather of the year. Yes. Like I'm sure I have been told there was a time where like November, December, you get pounded with snow, and then the spring would,
it's rare now to get a pre-Christmas storm.
Late February, it's freezing.
Yes.
Like it's just, I don't know. It's the worst.
And I know we talked about this. I hate March. Yes. Because of the teasing effect, where you get a 65-degree day and then it snows 3 days later. At least I mentally understand January kind of sucks. February kind of sucks. You're going to hunker down. You're going to watch stuff. See, that's where I'll get into a string of, like, I was just rattling off a couple documentaries that I watched this weekend. You get into a string of like things you can watch, things you can catch up on that you've always wanted to see.
Right.
And, like, for example, this just comes in, and this is a stupid story. I asked you about this movie last week that I'd never even heard of. It's called Olympus Has Fallen.
Yeah.
Did you see? Well, I saw a preview on a movie for Angel Has Fallen. And it's Morgan Freeman and Gerard Butler and the other guy who plays Gerard Butler's dad. But anyway, it looks really cool.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of it.
Yep.
And I'm like, I want to see this. I find out it's the third of a trilogy.
Right.
So now I'm like, God, I got to go find the first two. And the first one's on Netflix. So I watched it.
Right.
Second one's not on Netflix. Now I got to find it. Or I could pay $3.99 to watch it. But I just kind of feel like there's a challenge here. But anyway, in the winter, that's cool. Because to be like, oh, I just found a new trilogy I got to watch.
Right.
You just got time. So anyway, welcome to school. School is back. Yay.
Do you remember your first day of school? Like, do you have vivid memories or not really?
The thing I remember in high school is there were certain, this is how, I don't remember the exact details. You had a little locker in the back of your homeroom teacher's room, depending on what room you were in.
Okay.
But some people had hallway lockers and some people had room lockers.
Okay.
But everyone wanted a hallway locker because they were bigger. So it was on a first come, first served basis at the high school. So on the first day of school, you showed up at like 7 o'clock so you could get your name on the locker list.
Okay. That's
what I remember.
Okay. But you don't remember like your first day, like kindergarten?
Oh, God, no.
No, nothing like that.
You do?
There is, obviously there's pictures of me. This is the one vivid memory I have of my first day of school.
You wet your pants, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I had for whatever reason, I had on this like brownish, grayish, like it was think of the most neutral, ugly color you can think of. That was the color of this jacket. And it was like almost like a fighter jet jacket, like a pilot jacket. Okay. It's in this picture. It's my first day school picture. We have me in this like jacket with my lunchbox. There is no other picture of me wearing this jacket. I have no other memory of me wearing this jacket. And like anyone who knows me, like I never was into flying. Like I was never somebody like, oh, planes are awesome, or I want to be a pilot, or not. For some reason, there's just this one jacket my first day of school that I wore that is nowhere else. It's not in any other pictures. It's not in a closet. We don't have any recollection of it. But for whatever reason, my very first day of kindergarten, I had on this like pilot's jacket.
Do you want me to tell you what happened?
Go ahead.
The Blossburg bully took your jacket and you blocked it out.
Do you think that's what's happening?
Yes, that's what's happening.
So that is my like first day of school memory.
First day on the playground.
Yeah.
You wore it to the playground.
I don't think
He
that's
took
how
it from
works.
you. You never got it back. And
You think so?
you have blocked it out. And someday in therapy, it will all come clear.
I don't think so. I thought you'd like that story more. I
That
guess
is
not.
no, that
Literally,
is cute.
I mean, it's the only jacket. It doesn't exist anywhere else. Just the only picture. First day of school ever.
And I'll say this just because when you see yourself as little kids, what happens on the flip side is you're like, oh my God, I remember that jacket.
Yeah.
I wore that every day.
Yes.
Yes.
Like
So that
like,
is.
There's a backpack and a lunchbox that in the picture that I like vivid. I still have the back. I think I've told you about it. It had like the netting, like a real
Yes,
basketball.
you told me that.
So there's like vivid things. This jacket, I don't understand.
Nah, I'm with you.
It's like out
I'm
of
with you.
nowhere. Little League World Series wrap up. Michigan beat Ohio. I believe it was 5-2.
I liked some of the memes. It was 5-2. They're like, obviously, Jim Harbaugh wasn't coaching
No,
because Michigan won.
can't beat Ohio. You had a comment, just to nitpick, because we kind of said if we could change one thing about the series, what would we do and everything else. And I would argue that this series was successful. Like they pulled it off. They had 16 teams. There were like some high moments. Like there wasn't like a ton of stuff like there usually is, but that's what's going to happen when you don't have, the crowd or the fanfare, things like that. But the one thing that you brought up again was this idea of like the umpires at the Little League World Series, and do they have like an umpire problem?
I'll start at the beginning. You set that up nicely.
Okay.
I was working, and I was actually sitting out on the back deck, and I was kind of one of those, the game's going to start, but I'm going to get some work done, and the game's going to start. And I don't need to watch 6 innings of the game.
Sure.
I know people did, depending on what they had going on. And I saw a comment on Facebook that basically just said, this umpire sucks. And I don't know. And now I'm intrigued. And so shortly thereafter, I went in and turned it on. And it seems to me, I am sure that the ESPN commentators are told that these guys are volunteers. This is the dream of their life. Go easy on the umpires.
Sure.
The strike zone was enormous.
Okay.
And you just feel bad. Like, I thought the Ohio coach handled it well, because like when you're getting rung up on pitches outside, like you only get 18 outs.
Sure.
And there was a point they're like, oh, he has 7 strikeouts and 6 of them are called. 6 of them are looking. Like, this kid wasn't their best pitcher. He wasn't like throwing 98 miles an hour.
Sure.
When there's 7 strikeouts and 6 of them are called, there's a reason.
Sure.
And it's because if you get it there on a fly, he's calling it a strike. And there have been stories throughout, like, this is not the first time it's happened.
Right.
There are times you get, and I know they're amateurs and they're volunteers, they're little league guys that do this all the time or whatever, but you put them on the world's biggest stage with a TV camera, and sometimes you realize, wow. And in their defense, and I've umpired a lot of Little League, it is not, you have to be a little liberal with your strike zone depending on who's pitching, depending on the regular season, or the games wouldn't end. Because you get these 10-year-old pitchers, 11-year-old pitchers, and because of pitch counts and because of rainouts, he might be the 5th pitcher on the staff.
Sure.
And depending on who it is, we're kind of like, who's up, who can handle it. The strike zone floats a little bit during the regular season. You get at the end, and it's got to be like the big leagues. Like, this is a ball and this is a strike. And I think the commentators did a good job of deflecting it. But even in the last inning, there was a check swing that wasn't even close. But again, in Little League, like, you never have umpires at every base.
Sure.
You have one behind the plate, and the other guy would be behind second.
Right.
So the check swing, you deal with that. In the big leagues, they deal with it every night.
Sure.
In Little League, you deal with it, but not from that angle. And So anyway,
No, I get it.
I think it turned out really well. But as you said, part of Little League is the volunteer. That's why the second stadium is volunteer. The coaches, they'll never get rid of the volunteer umpires coming Little League World Series.
Right.
But year in and year out, we realize how hit and miss the volunteer umpires are.
When we go, because this will flow into your point, when we go to like travel tournaments or like AAU tournaments for basketball, they always have college kids ref.
Okay.
And I've always said I have no issue with that for like the round robin or for like the standings play.
For the play.
But I've always argued with like the league directors, the AAU directors, like, can't you like shed a few bucks and get like some certified referees once you start doing the
once
playoffs?
You get to
like,
you lose and go home games.
So I'm like, I have no issue. Like, put the college kids to work, give them their volunteer hours, save your money, make a buck. Like, I get what's going on. But once you start trying to chip away at it, like maybe throw somebody $20 to come in who's certified. And so I do wonder if that's something Little League could seriously consider. Like the whole week while they're there, it's awesome. Bring in these volunteers. It's their dream. And I don't think it's a bad idea. The problem though is like once you start getting down to that nitty gritty, maybe it's not the worst idea that like once you're in the semis and the championship, you've got some people out there with some bucks behind them. And like, because you said like once you get to that point, it kind of matters now.
Yes. And it's tough because like calling balls and strikes is a lot harder than it looks. And I've done it.
It's impossible.
No, reffing basketball is impossible. Calling balls and strikes is not, but like for this guy, I'm sure it's the first time he's ever been able to watch himself when it's all said and done. This is the one moment in his life. And it becomes, and there's always guys chirping. And when people chirp, you're like, is it a bad guy? And so I don't know, but I thought it was unfortunate. But again, in the grand scheme of life, Ohio made it to, it's not like they're losers because they lost the Little League championship.
No.
They had a great run. They got as far as they could get. Sure, Michigan won. Sure, at the end of their life, it's not going to change anything. But the home plate umpire was less than stellar yesterday.
Yeah. Well, at least they got to do it. Little League World Series went up. Do you still feel the same way about the Hill? Like, I still feel like they could have filled up the Hill.
Yes. When I'm watching Nebraska at Illinois the day before, and the stadium's full, and I know next week Penn State's away. In 2 weeks, Penn State's going to be 85,000, 90,000. It probably won't sell out because I think it's Ball State.
Okay.
But I mean, you wonder what they could have done at the end of the day. But again, it's free admission.
You're right.
So is it worth it? And I also wonder, we talked about this off the air. Did local community health people say, hey, for the sake of our hospitals, we don't want all these people from around the world coming and infesting local people and then overrunning our ICUs? Like, so
Sure.
That may have been it too. I don't know.
They may have played into it. I still, like, the few times that I went downtown during the Little League World Series, there were still people there. Like, they came down off of the hill, like, intermingled. I don't know. Like, I don't know how much of a difference it would have made. And it would have made
thousands and thousands.
I understand that. I'm not a medical professional. Like, I don't know. But, like, if the idea was, like, these people are going to be separate and they're not going to get together, like, people in Williamsport were getting together. And they were mixing up with the people from Little League. It just didn't happen on a hill.
Well, and
that's the only difference.
Yeah, the question is when you have a Saturday, Sunday over there and there's 25 or 30,000 people in attendance,
right?
How many of those 25 or 30,000 people are from the immediate area,
Sure.
Or how many of them are coming to visit?
Yeah.
And if it's half or whatever, I don't know. I think it turned out about as well as they could have hoped for it to turn out, all things considered.
We're nitpicking because
correct.
If the goal was to kind of like avoid, once the initial announcement was made, they've avoided all confrontation.
Yes.
Like there's nobody walking around saying they weren't safe. So they've done that. I just wonder what it would have looked like with 3,000 people on the hill. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
If you had first 3,000 admitted, let them onto the hill, they have to leave up the hill. I don't know. Like, I feel there was ways for people to be involved in it. Because like, this is a really minor one. But, like, the vendors were still there. And so like those vendors, like there's no way vendors made money at the Little League World Series this year. None. And a lot of those vendors, I believe, are local, like they are local people. And so I don't know. It's tricky. Really, really tricky.
But I mean, from a TV product, Little League World Series is a great TV product. It's shorter. It's I want to say lovable for lack of a better term, but for the 6-inning game is very, very consumable, and there's nothing for it to compete with. So it once again, just them being able to play and get it on TV was a success.
It is. The timing of it is great. There is an aspect, like I've made the argument to you, college basketball is at its best when kids are making mistakes because it makes it exciting. Like that's how you get in, like they blew this 9-point lead and now someone made a shot to put it to overtime. It's because you forget these dudes are 18, 19-year-old kids. Little League in a way is almost like that on steroids. Like we were watching the game the other night and I forget who was playing, but it was like 9-0 in the second inning. And then it was 9-6 at the end of the second inning. And like, it was an exciting games and runs were being scored and everything else, but there was like 6 errors, like in the first 2 innings.
Right.
And I finally, at one point, like I turned to my dad and I was like, it's like, I get why people enjoy watching this, but I do wonder if people realize there is like, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
There's something to be said, like watching a group of 12-year-olds, like mess up on the biggest stage that internally, like, I'm like, oh, like I just hope they catch every ball.
Well,
like, I just want them to hit every pitch.
And I'll tell you,
and go ahead.
Because of the umpiring, I was rooting for Ohio because the first inning I saw, I thought they were getting jobbed and they were losing. So you want them to rally. And then in the 6th inning, they had to go to the bullpen. Michigan had to go to the bullpen because their pitcher had used all their pitchers, and they're bringing in this kid, and he's down to his last. He needs one more out. He walks a guy. He's down to his last strike. He hits a guy. Then he walks in a run, and like they get to the point it was 5-1, and you're like the tying runs at the plate.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my gosh. And now all of a sudden the winning runs at the plate. Well, it's the top of the 6th. The go-ahead runs at the plate. And now I'm like, I do not want this kid to blow it.
Right.
Because he had to come in and get like 5 outs.
Yeah.
And he's got 4 of them and he can't get the last one.
Right.
And this big kid comes up and he flew out to center field. And yeah, so I'm with you. Now again, I have no rooting interest. I have no dog in this fight. But you don't want to see the kids mess up because you're afraid what they're going to wear. That game was exciting if you could get past the fact that it was a bunch of 12-year-olds messing up on national TV. But they're not messing up. They're playing well.
They are playing well, but when you have 6 errors in 2 innings,
like,
that's
that game.
not.
Yes.
You get what I mean. Like it is this weird balance of like, yes, it's exciting, but also too I can't stand watching these kids make mistakes like on the world's biggest stage. I saw
when there was a line drive to the left fielder, and the left fielder was this little bitty kid.
Yeah.
And it was smoked right at him. And on TV, my first thought was, that's going to get over his head. And he kind of took a false step in. But then he drifted back and he caught it like he knew what he was doing. He didn't panic. Yeah. He didn't stagger. And then he runs in and he probably weighs 80 pounds. And I was just like, wow. Like he played that very cool on a play that was not nearly as easy as he made it look because it was smoked right at him.
So the game that I'm telling you, it was 9-0. They come up to bat at the end of the second inning. And a ball gets hit to right field. And the kid he misplays it. Like we all make mistakes. The kid misplays it. Falls to the ground. He has to throw it in. He throws it like past the catcher. Another run comes in. So like they score 3 runs off of this dropped ball that would have been the end of the inning. The very next batter comes up and he hits it to shallow right field. And I literally I turned away because I was like, in my head, I'm like, I can't watch it because I was like, if this kid doesn't catch this ball, he caught it, thankfully. But that that almost throws me off more than that shouldn't bother me as much as it does. But I was like, if this poor kid,
it's one of the first times you're not a heartless curmudgeon-y. You're like a sympathetic person today.
It's one of the only.
What has happened to you?
It's one of the only times because this is what I feel like. I feel like it's not their. They didn't choose to be on ESPN. They didn't choose to So from that standpoint, like it's just I'm kind of like, oh, like
Well, they turned a 6-4-3 double play yesterday in the Little League game.
I actually saw that came up on my feed.
That was better. The Yankees had bases loaded, one out, and got a 6-4-3 double play, but they didn't turn it quick enough, and the guy beat it, and they ended up losing 3-1. And but yeah, when you watch the shortstop, because they showed the replay, when you watch how the shortstop turns it, he can't do it any better, and he's 12. So that stuff is really cool.
It is.
But here's the other thing, and this is what I tell the kids. Like, whatever happens, the kid who misplayed the ball, like, when he gets back to school, it's going to be tough as a 12-year-old. When he's an 18-year-old, it's a great story.
Yeah.
It's a great story if you're a hero. It's almost a better story if you were a GOAT. Because it's like, what are they going to run around, pat you on the back? Hey, remember that home run you hit in the Little League World Series? And they're like, yeah, I'm cool. I hit a home run when I was 12. And they're like, hey, remember the ball that went through your legs on national TV? And he's like, yep, that was me. So I think
I tell you all the time, my kids there's a clip on YouTube of me getting dunked on against like IUP in college, and my kids love it.
Why have I
It's
never
like
seen
their
this
favorite clip. I don't know. I guess it just never came up. But it's like their favorite clip. Because like you said, like it's a
great story.
Yeah, it's that idea of like, and I'm like, what are you gonna do?
And when you show all, is that how you picked up all these girls? Like, this is me, poor me.
Yeah,
sorry for me.
I'm on YouTube. Check it out.
Sympathetic me. I need sympathy, please.
That's what happened. Hurricane Ida. Obviously, it's wreaking havoc right now in the South. This was unique though, because I said to you, I was like, I'm not really sure how to do this. I got the majority of my news for Hurricane Ida actually on TikTok, because local people that were stranded or had boarded up or decided to stay for whatever reason they were there, they were taking these like live videos of Hurricane Ida like going through Louisiana and parts of Mississippi. And so most of the time, like, it's a Twitter, it's on cable, it's, but like I knew more about Hurricane Ida through TikTok. It kind of like took over my feed last night. It was very interesting. I'd never thought of TikTok in that function, but there it was.
Well, one of the great aspects of social media, and we've seen this in foreign wars, and is that any normal schmuck can get information out, especially video of this is what's really going on.
Right.
The one that you showed me, and
crazy.
We don't know whether to laugh or cry or whatever. There's a what is it called, parasailer?
Yes.
And he is and the guy is commentating this. He's like, they can't reel him in because the winds are too strong, and they have all these kind of jet skis around him, and they're trying to figure out how to get this guy in. And the guy even says, if that thing snaps, there's trouble. And it snapped. The cord snapped. And the guy went blowing in the storm like Dorothy and the Wizard. And he went over it looked like he was filming from the balcony of a hotel, maybe, or an apartment complex. But he went over the building, and as far as TikTok goes, never to be seen again. And we have no idea what happened to this dude.
Yeah, it was like, at first you're watching it. Okay, so there's a couple of things here. And this is me just, again, thinking out loud, because that's what we do here. I'm watching this in the boat, like, the tension, like they must know the tension because they can't bring them in. So like when you're fishing, like when you're trying to rail in a fish, you ease the tension and then you rail real quick and then you pull again. And so like they kind of go down to the boat for a second. And in my head, I'm thinking like, why doesn't the boat just drive towards
the boat? Needs to slack.
Like, why doesn't the boat go towards the parasailer and then like ease up the tension, bring it in a little bit? But it was like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never been in that situation. I don't have my boating license. I don't know if that's even like a feasible
Well,
thing.
I'll clue you in here. I don't have my boating license either, but in the boating license class, they don't go over what to do during a hurricane other than don't go into a hurricane.
Yeah.
So there's no real tactics covered as to what do you do when you have a parasailer up in 90-mile-an-hour winds. Right. They just figure you're not going to do that.
And then, so this is the other part of it too, is he's so high up.
Yes.
And so this video that's being taken, it's not from the boat. It's not from the shore. It is in a hotel. I'm assuming it's a hotel. Maybe it's like a condominium or something like that. But it is stories up. And so when this guy's thing gets disconnected, He goes flying over top. I mean, this had to be 20, 30, 40 stories up. I mean, it was high.
He's high.
And he goes over, and the people that are filming this are almost on the top level of this building. And he goes over the top of the building. And like you said, like, that's the end of the TikTok.
That's it.
Like, that's
the guy's
all there
like,
is to it.
I said it sounds like Bill and Ted. The guy's like, dude, he's gone.
It is.
Just like,
so I said to you, the weirdest part about it is the whole spectrum's open for what happened to this guy. Because I could see him landing on a parking lot and a couple of scrapes and bruises, and he gets up, and I could see him ending up like face first into a building, and like that's it. So it is truly the odds of him being okay. I think it reaches both ends of the spectrum. I don't know.
I watch it and I want to laugh, but I don't know. If I knew he was okay, I would really laugh.
Sure.
But we don't know what.
No.
If it's a cartoon, like, he's still flying because he just took off and kept going. And
yeah. So this was the
and
other
just
thought.
imagine you're him.
Well, so that's what I wanted to say to you was, if you're him, you're up on the shore, right? Are you relieved you didn't go out to the water, or are you upset you didn't go out to the water?
Oh, that's true.
You get what I'm saying?
Because when it snapped, it could have blown him over the water, the way the wind's coming in off the ocean. But yeah, he was above.
I mean, it had a 50-50 shot of like, you're either going out to the ocean or you're going inland.
And he went inland.
And I can't decide which one I would have been, if you know what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if I would have been more relieved or less relieved if I would have went out towards the ocean. Because again, when the thing goes off, it disconnects and he starts going down. He's going up.
It just goes.
Like, he is like, it disconnects and he is flying up into the ether. Like, he is just.
That's going to be
gone.
your job for the afternoon, to find out what happened to this guy.
What happened to this guy?
Just Google.
It is.
Now, he's got a parachute, which is a parachute-ish. So he may have gently landed somewhere. Not.
It's possible.
It may not have been a total crash landing.
That's what I'm saying.
But you're right. If there's a brick high-rise or something and he's going 30 miles an hour, how's he brace? He can't stop. He's going to smash right into it.
Absolutely. And I'm guessing he would be lucky if he was only going 30 miles per hour.
Probably.
I'm guessing. I feel like he'd be going a lot.
I would think he was moving.
Given the circumstances and the weather and everything that was
the
happening.
guy's voice. I keep hearing the guy's voice like, dude. And there it goes. Right over top.
Well, it's also, we've talked before, Dane Cook does a great skit about, like, when you see a car accident, like, you just can't say anything. Like, you want, like, look out, but the whole skit is this idea of, like, you just, you just can't. And so that is, like, that helpless kind of feeling. Like, this guy watching this parasailer, like, just go over his hotel, like, what do you do? Like, what can you possibly, you can't say anything other than dude. Like, that's all there is.
It's crazy.
It is nuts. There's also video. There's obviously your basic, I don't want to call it basic, but your typical hurricane storm footage, like roofs going off.
Jim Cantori like there?
What's that?
Jim Cantori?
No.
You don't know him from the Weather Channel? My ex loved Jim Cantori. Okay. He was one of those guys who was in every storm.
Okay.
He was all over. This is an aside.
Seen Jim Cantori.
My ex loved weather and the Weather Channel, and when there were nor'easters coming through and all this stuff, I remember once waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and she's not in bed, and I'm like, I wonder if anything, and I see this dim glow from the living room, and I go out and she's watching the Weather Channel at 3 o'clock in the morning. She's like, we're gonna get 8 inches, and she loved it.
Yeah,
loved it. And there are weather junkies.
Mm-hmm.
And people who thought she was one of them, especially in the bad weather. She loved it.
She would love TikTok right now because that's all it is.
Probably.
So one of the videos on TikTok was there's a trampoline in the backyard.
Okay.
And it starts to slide, and like 3 dudes run outside, and they're like, they jump onto the trampoline, like trying to like weigh it down. I don't know. I mean, my first thing was kind of like, I don't know if the trampoline's worth it. Like, I just, at this point. But they all lay down on the trampoline, and this still it keeps sliding with these 3 dudes on the trampoline. And the next thing you know, like the angle of the phone in the window, and it's just done. And like these guys are just like sliding off on this trampoline, trying to keep it from going up into the air.
Well, I'll tell you, while we're talking about X stories, I'll tell you this one. This is one of the ones that we still joke about. When, as depending on the wind and it gets underneath and it can blow it.
Yeah.
Well, it's whatever. It was a storm night and it's 5:30 in the morning, whatever. And my ex gets up to check some, I don't know, comes back in and she says, "You need to get up now." And that's literally how she starts it. So I spring, I don't know if one of the kids is missing. You go from dead sleep to the scream of "you need to wake up now."
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's wrong? The trampoline blew over the fence and it's in the neighbor's yard. And I was like, wait, that's it? That's all? That's a nudge. And be like, "Hey, honey, we need to go get the trampoline back." That is not a scream of "we need to wake up now."
Was it still storming?
Well, it kind of, but it had gone over and it had wedged and it was just sitting there and it had bent the fence, but it wasn't going anywhere anymore.
I mean, to me, it's not a ha-ha, but to me, that's more of like a wow, come look at this, and then you go get it when the storm's
Well, you
over.
feel like it, like your trampoline's in the other person's yard. So we went out and got it because we didn't want it to blow and do any damage.
Yeah.
And then you kind of strap. But there I am now out in the cold and I'm trying to bungee cord it to the fence so it doesn't go anywhere. But that was the whole, I was like, let's talk about delivery of things here. Like the trampolines in the other yard does not need a earth shattering, like, "You need to get up now." It's a, hey, honey, come on, we got to go get the trampoline. So yeah, that was a teaching moment in the marriage, which obviously didn't
I was going to say, yeah.
Didn't work.
Was it an expensive trampoline?
No, it's not about, it's just like those things get blown. I mean, it bent the fence. We had to,
Yeah.
I mean, you could go do a lot of damage to somebody. I don't say a lot, depending on what it hit. If it smashes into someone's car,
Yeah.
you could do damage with those things. They're heavy once they get going and they're metal and so yeah, that's the whole thing. It's not like it's not like you just lost your thing, your beach ball blew away and you lost it. It's your beach ball isn't going to do damage to the neighbor's house.
Did you have a trampoline?
But my kids did. I did.
You never did growing up.
No, I don't get it.
I never really had a trampoline. I never really understood. Don't get me wrong. The times I've been on them, I've enjoyed it. But I feel like if I had one after like a week, I feel like it would just be a trampoline.
My son loved it.
Okay.
Loved it.
He was on it a lot.
All the time.
Huh. Interesting.
And I don't.
Did he do like crazy stuff?
No, because we kind of had a thing like you can't really do flips and stuff because the paralysis issue. Now I've also heard that the netting around it saves because most of the kids that get, well, I don't know, most of the kids, a lot of the serious injuries are when they fall off.
Okay.
And they're already dizzy because they don't have their air awareness.
Sure.
And they kind of tumble off and they land on the ground. That's where the serious injuries. So the netting supposedly saved it. But we were those kind of nerdy parents that were like, no flipping, even though flipping took place, it wasn't like the Olympic dudes that are doing like double flips and stuff like that.
Sure.
Because
do you ever think about putting it in ground? That's like the big thing now.
No, I've seen those at some of the places. That's cool.
Yeah.
But no, I would never do that.
No,
I don't get
that
it.
wouldn't have made you feel better.
I think it's one of those things that like to really have fun with it, you have to do tricks, and when you start to do tricks, you get hurt. It's like gymnastics is really neat what the kids do. And if you knew a gymnast, their life is full of injuries.
Sure.
So
same with cheerleading. I just recently learned that. I watched that Netflix, The Cheer. Have you heard about this?
I've seen the preview, but I never watched it.
Yeah. So I watch it. It's fascinating. And they do a really good job with it. It reminds me a lot of the football one that they always do, Last Chance U.
Okay.
So it's a little bit like that. But the point that you're making, like, these people are hurt all the time.
All the time.
Like, they're never, like, they would come into practice and it was just everything's taped up and this person is that. And it's like, they're never actually healthy, ever.
Oh, you go to a big high school cheer team of 15, 20 kids, there's a knee brace. There's a blown ACL.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah. So these people, they're on, like, the #1 junior college in the country for cheerleading. So they're, like, top line. And, I mean, they're doing stuff. I mean, it's insane what they're pulling off and the things they're doing. And it is like the other crazy part is it's like a next person up attitude. Like someone goes, they try to do 3 flips in the air, they like land on their shoulder, and it's like, Susie, let's go. And like Susie's up and they're going again. And it's like that person goes off to the medical staff, and it is a weird, because like when you're at a football practice, like they say next man up, but like if the quarterback ends up on the ground, practice is halted for like 10 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like you're stopping, like watching this cheer stuff. It's like,
well, Loyal Sock basketball, you do next man up.
Yeah. Right.
You don't even refer to the Hurt kids by their names, do you? You're just like that guy.
Loyal Sock?
Yeah.
I know their names.
No, but once they get hurt, now you don't even, you're like that guy.
You think so?
Yeah, that's what I think. It's like a factory there. You just pump them through.
So are we not supposed to be deep? Like, I don't understand. Listen, we are. It's a different year this year. I can tell you that it's going to be. You and I are going to have good conversations as the season moves along, because it is going to be different.
Well, I'll say this, and from a week of high school football, and depending on at least in the county of like Common County, you have good years, you have bad years, you have up years, you have down years in every sport. High school football's up this year. Yeah. There's like I heard Williamsport is supposedly really good. Loyal Sox, and when we say like these teams are pretty good, they're not just like above average, like they're good. Yeah. Loyal Sox got a lot of talent. Toursville got a lot of talent. Muncie's got a lot of talent. I saw South last year, and I know they have a lot of kids back. I don't know. I know Muncie lost week 1 to a good team. I guess Muncie didn't play very well, but it was a fill-in game. They had like a day to prepare. Yeah. And they just went out and played. But Muncie is talented. So, and Jersey Shore is still like Jersey Shore, and they're rolling. They might be the best of the bunch, other than Williamsport. I don't know. But it's going to be a good year for high school football. As you know, it's just the natural ebb and flow of the public school system. You get strong classes, you get weaker classes, and this seems to be a strong one.
Montgomery beat Hughesville. I just want to shout out Christian Diggs, 23 years old, head coach.
I just heard that.
Yep. Christian started at Williamsport, then came to Loyal Sock. He played basketball for us a couple of years, and he was on the football team, obviously. But 23-year-old head coach.
I know him this much. I've talked to him twice. Yeah. And someone told me that, and I was like, wait a minute, he's not that old. Yeah. So he's got to be in his first year.
Oh, his first year as a head coach, yes. First year as a varsity head coach.
Was he with the program before, do you know?
He's bounced around. I don't want to say anything wrong, so Christian can text me if I get something wrong. I know he was in did a couple of the youth stuff at Loyal Sock, was on the staff for a little while. And then that's all I know as far as like the football side of it. I know he did some basketball stuff, I believe, at Williamsport. He's been kind of like in the youth levels, like down below.
Okay.
So it's
and impressive. That in the history, Hughesville had a run for a while where they were just smoking those teams down to Eastern. You know, Muncie, Montgomery, Warrior Run. I think there was a game they were beating Montgomery once, 49-0 in the first half. Mm. And because then the debate, it was a fascinating time for Hughesville football because they couldn't win a playoff game. But during the regular season, they would run roughshod through all these teams. And the debate was, have they got to the point where they should stop playing? You know, if you're going to play Montgomery and beat them 49-0 in the first half, maybe this is a game you don't need on your schedule. And you look around, Montoursville and Loyal Sock stopped for a while because the football gap got too big. Loyal Sock probably, do you always play South Williamsport in basketball? Or do you not?
We haven't. This past year, because of COVID, was the first time we had played them in like 4 years.
Right. Back in the day, we all played everyone, but then it gets to the point where if a game doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense.
Sure.
But the moral of the story is there was a while where Muncie, Montgomery, Warrior Run were the whipping boys for Hughesville. Okay. And so anytime that they can get that win across, that's a big win, not just because they have a 23-year-old coach, but for the community that remembers this. Montgomery, that's a big win for Montgomery. They're happy about that.
Yeah, oh, for sure. So shout out to him as well. Anything else before we head out?
No, that's about it. Happy to be back to school. What are we getting storms tonight?
I don't know. I've given up.
Wednesday's the big day.
I have given up. I used to try to check the weather and see everything else. My doors and the roof are on the Jeep, and I have given up trying to see what the weather's going to be like. No, it's this summer's been so weird. It's almost impossible. Like most summers, I can leave the doors and the roof off for like a 5-day chunk, like a 6-day chunk. Like this summer, like it has not existed.
We've been very wet.
So
Now-
I've just given up.
No, nothing tonight, supposedly. Wednesday is the day that Ida's going to get here, and we're going to get inches. Like, there's a post on NorthcentralPa.com. I think 4 inches, 3 to 5 is kind of what they're calling for through this section of Pennsylvania. But I've always said this. It's one of the reasons why there's no rain out where the wildfires are.
Sure.
Because we've got more than we were supposed to. What was it? Kentucky had like 17 inches the other day.
Tennessee, I think it
was.
Was
it Tennessee? It was somewhere down
say it was
there.
Tennessee got absolutely crushed.
And then earlier this summer, they were flooding in Europe.
Yeah.
And so, there's only so much water to go around. And when there's an area that gets more than they're supposed to, then somebody's going to get less than they're supposed to. And I think it's contributed to the wildfire aspect. But we've had a very wet summer, and other people have had it worse.
Yeah.
I say worse. We've had a good summer weather-wise. Usually any rain in August we get is good rain.
Just wet. Yeah, it's just been wet. It hasn't been a bad summer.
No.
And it's been hot lately, but it wasn't like an overwhelming summer.
It was just quick.
It's
the quickest summer I can ever remember.
It was fast. I will say this. I had more things to do than any summer before because it was just like it was like doubling up. It was like a double summer, like more weddings, more this, more that. It was I feel like everybody was just trying to get everything in the summer
I
that
get
they had missed out on.
And maybe that's why. I don't know. And I know every year there's never been a summer where I was like, this summer is dragging on, But it just seems to me, and maybe it's just because you get older, and it seems like as you get older, everyone goes quicker and quicker. But this is the quickest summer I can remember.
I was I print off my calendars for the last 4 months of the year. And I had
are you running for Supreme Court?
Yes,
Do you have your own
yes,
calendars?
Yep,
Do you have calendars from back when you were in college?
I like to the broad, like a 1 month isn't enough for me. I like to be able to like see out past the 1 month. You're not like that? No, it bothers me. So anyway,
so did you think Judge Kavanaugh was creepy when he had calendars from 25 years ago?
Oh yeah, the 1 month view. He's a nutcase.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. So anyway, what was I saying?
What was the guy's name? Squeegee? Me and Squeegee went lifting or something? All right, anyway, you're talking about your calendar.
Yeah, but what was I saying?
I don't know.
I saw, and like for a second I had like, it is September, and I was kind of like,
but it's not.
the year's 8 months over.
It is.
Like, that's insane. Mm-hmm. Like when I started thinking about how fast this year has gone by, it is nuts.
But see, that's the thing. When I look back in retrospect, like,
this year was different.
I just think the summer was fast. I don't think the year, because with the COVID winter, because my son was contact traced 4 different times. Mm-hmm. He never had it, but he was one of the kids that got sent home because he sat by this kid or sat by this kid. Right. One time he rode in a car with me when I had a test that was pending, and so, but that seems like eons ago to me.
Does it?
Yes. But summer seems like it went like that.
Nah. This year has been a blur.
You know how you can slow that down?
How?
Print out some calendars.
I'm trying. That's what I did.
You haven't filled anything.
Would you like to use one of mine? Good.
You know what?
Good, because I'm not giving you any. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show.
I knew the compassion of the stories earlier.
Thank you to all of our sponsors. And be sure to go to NorthcentralPA.com to check out all your local news. And Mark and I will be back tomorrow.
Jeff will have a hoodie on.
I honestly, isn't it supposed to cool off? Yes. I think it's supposed to
it's supposed to be in the 70s, but the like equator summer is over.
Okay, yeah. I think this week might be some hoodie weather mixed in there. I think so. Everyone go have a great day.